Good afternoon, all fellow learners. Today, I have taken the opportunity to choose one of my favorite subject on sustainability, that is Sustainable Future. And since I've been working in Northeast currently, I chose to really define what I understand on sustainable future for Northeast. I am not an expert in this subject, but I'm trying to apply whatever little knowledge I have to transform or at least propose the transformation paradigm for Northeast. And I want to learn from all of you your inputs and suggestions to improve my understanding of the subject. In my opinion, the key parameters or pathway to sustainability in Northeast revolves around four major, or I should say, five major activities. The first one to understand is the biodiversity, the climate resilience, and the local economies. The second aspect is innovation and creativity hubs, integrating indigenous knowledge with the policies so that development can happen in a sustainable manner. But the most important is the entrepreneurial capacity and technology development and skill development with a multi stakeholder engagement. I'll delve more on these points in the coming. Let me begin by introducing the subject, especially defining the Northeast. The Northeast constitutes of 8 states of India which are rich in culture, biodiversity and natural resources. These 8 states are Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim and Tripura. The first seven are referred as Seven Sisters, and Sikkim is known as the brother state. What is the real importance of these states, and why are we really spending time on understanding about the sustainable future of Northeast? The importance of this region lies in its three characteristics. One, it is an environmental hotspot. It is a strategic region from both geopolitical as well as our country's safety and security. And also, it is a home to a lot of indigenous communities. Let's understand what each of this means for us. To qualify for a biodiversity hotspot, a region must meet two strict criteria. The first is endemism, that is, it must have at least 1,500 vascular plants as endemics, which is to say, it must have a high percentage of plant life found nowhere else on the planet. A hotspot, on other words, is irreplaceable. If we lose it forever. It has to be threatened. That means it must have 30% or less of its original natural vegetation. In other words, it must be threatened. So, two global biodiversity hotspots are in Northeast India. One in the Eastern Himalayas and other in the Indo-Burma region. The Eastern Himalayan region hotspot includes part of Nepal, Bhutan, and northeastern states. This hotspot is known for its high altitude ecosystem and is home to species like the red panda and snow leopard, whereas the Indo-Burma hotspot covers northeastern India, Myanmar, and parts of Southeast Asia. This hotspot is characterized by tropical and subtropical species like amphibians, birds, and reptiles. It also includes the Loktak Lake in Manipur, which is a Ramsar site and is a significant ecosystem. Both these hotspots face threats from deforestation, habitat loss, and illegal wildlife trade. Not just wildlife trade, but also a lot of activities which are not conducive to the safety and security of the country as such. For examples, arms being smuggled from this area. Also, there is a threat of drug trafficking, which has become very rampant in that area and is causing a lot of problem. Being a border state, something that we have to be really very cautious about. So let us now look at what are the key focus areas for sustainability in this region. The first and the most important, we've already talked about, the biodiversity and environmental conservation. I'm not going into the details of each topic. I'm just trying to really leave you with what is that is really needed to be done, and how can we all contribute towards making this region sustainable. The second most important aspect is that organic and sustainable agriculture. All these states have one thing in common, that they have a fairly organic way of agriculture and produce a lot of very exotic as well as kind of food that would otherwise not be available in the other regions. The third important aspect of sustainability is renewable energy development and consumption. But the most important area of focus area for sustainability in this region is the ecotourism and responsible travel. The major economy of these states is handloom, handicraft, and circular economy. So we'll touch more about on this. Also, water resource management is very important. On one side, we have the highest waterfall in this region. At the same time, we have a lot of water scarcity also. In the months of monsoon, there are heavy floods and a lot of loss of soil because of the kind of heavy rainfall. On the other hand, we have problems of even having drinking water scarcity in most of the regions. But what is most significant, that is importantly to be understood for this area for sustainability, is the climate resilience and the indigenous knowledge. So I'll talk more on these topics. I'll leave you for a minute to really share your thoughts on some of the content that I have shared so that I can really build upon that and go forward. When we talk about sustainability, we can't forget the Sustainable Development Goals. And we need to understand how and where we align with the Sustainable Development Goals very specifically with respect to the Northeast. SDG 1 talks about no poverty, so there are a lot of livelihood programs, self-help groups, and rural employment to really cover that. In the SDG 2, we talk about zero hunger, and we see in Northeast the highest sustainability in terms of organic farming, traditional crops, and millet missions. When we talk about SDG 3, which is good health, there are mobile clinics, there is telemedicine, there are nutrition awareness, so many things happening in the good health area. And I can personally vouch for that I've just come back from Northeast, from Bodoland, which is one of the most backward areas in Assam in Northeast. The amount of nutritional awareness program that the governments are running in deep areas which are highly tribal areas where people don't even talk the language that we talk in the other areas. And the penetration of telemedicine and mobile clinics is really something worth watching. And this is being extended to not just the Northeast, but also to our neighboring countries in and around, as Bangladesh and also in Myanmar and Bhutan. I had an opportunity to go to Bhutan to really see the kind of developmental activities that is happening in collaboration with India in that area, especially in the health and tourism. So SDG 4 talks about quality education. The slow and steady empowerment through digital and inclusive tribal education is really coming into this paradigm. And for the last 2 years, I've personally worked in the borderland to really bring in digital learning, or at least hybrid learning with tribal education, inclusive tribal education in deep pockets. On areas as diverse as how do we produce more from the same soil or the same set of geography through new techniques as well as agri-tech resources, to using drones, using a hybrid learning approach where the experts are sitting in Delhi or somewhere in US or UK, but providing the learning in the native language of the tribals. By connecting such diverse set of people through artificial intelligence enabled learning in the language using NLP. If you really want to see this thing, you have to really believe me and go there to see it. What's happening? The gender equality is something that has to be seen in Northeast since it has a lineal tradition. There are many women led enterprises and almost 70% plus women led small and medium enterprises are there. In the SDGs 6, clean water and sanitation, deep root interventions in rainwater harvesting and wash is happening. For the SDG 7, clean energy, some of the major solar companies, micro hydro projects, and biomass energy production is happening in Northeast. The most important work that we are trying to do, at least I've been personally trying to do, is in the decent work category, where we're looking at adding value to the traditional industries which we call local industries, and how do we really enable them to really enhance the quality. For example, in tourism, offer e-tourism for handlooms, provide digitized handloom training and helping them to really work with new technology for design interventions as well as a circular economy. And of course, helping the startups to understand and build nano, micro, or small and medium enterprises to work in high-tech area coming from the Northeast. One of the advantage of this is that at least 2 or 3 states have very good English-speaking population. So talent acquisition, but they do not find jobs in those states. So they have to really go to Bangalore, come to Delhi, or go to any other metro cities. As far as the SDG 9 is concerned, innovation and infrastructure in terms of digital Northeast and the kind of road infrastructure, the rail infrastructure, and the airports that have been built is phenomenal. If you have been to Northeast, you would see that there has been a complete transformation in the kind of infrastructure that is there, which has been driven by innovation and very high commitment of this present government towards the Northeast. In fact, this is one of the favorite areas that Prime Minister himself commits and calls these 8 states as Ashtalakshmi. So I believe that we have a lot that is happening, but then it has to also flow in the right direction. So when we talk about SDG 11, that is sustainable cities, smart towns, and green transport is happening, but the kind of rampant development that is happening might be a real barrier in terms of really negating the sustainable culture that this particular states have. And also in terms of transportation, the amount of tourists which are visiting certain states is alarming, and it is actually exceeding the carrying capacity of the that particular state. So there is a chance that we have a deprivation of the resources for the locals, which is going to really create a very negative effect. So, what the SDG 12 offers a recourse to that is responsible consumption and responsible production. So, in the responsible consumption, a lot of activities are happening in terms of using circular economy and having ecological crafts, etc. But there has to be a lot of emphasis to be given on the responsible production. I have deliberately in the slide not put responsible production because responsible production is currently not happening. SDG 13 in the climate action space, there is some efforts on disaster resilience and early warning symptoms, etc. But lot needs to be done. Lot more needs to be done proactively. What is missing is the kind of system which gives early warning as well as have a very structured approach to mitigate the climate negative impacts. In terms of the SDG 15, life on land, the forest protection and sacred groves are being identified and being managed, but still lot needs to be done to really make this more meaningful, the activity more meaningful, by engaging and developing products and services around these two, that is forest based produce, especially in terms of herbs and for food as well as herbs for medicinal plants, and the sacred groves for providing what we call the tourism or spiritual tourism. In terms of the SDG 17, the partnerships, collaboration between stakeholders, lot of activities are in process, but still collaborative effort where indigenous communities are involved are still to be done. When I took up the project in Bodoland, people used to laugh at me and say that, why are you really looking at this area? Nobody wants to go there because it was the most terror infected area. And you being a woman, not being able, you will not be able to survive in that place. But I had set my goal and I collaborated with a local university and I'm working with them for the last 2 years to make sure that we are able to provide something where we bring in multiple stakeholders from other parts of the country also to really collaborate and partner, because if we do not have the Northeast the way it is today, we are not going to have it back again. The kind of biodiversity, the kind of ecology damage, if it happens, is going to be disastrous, not just for Northeast, but also for the entire India, because there are at least 7 countries which really touch the borders or within 100 kilometers of the borders of Northeast. While we've talked about the organic agriculture, I would like to really bring to your notice that Sikkim has become India's first 100% organic state. That means everything which is produced is organic. There is a high potential to really bring the same status for ginger, turmeric, pineapple, and kiwi fruit as a key export item from these states. But what is needed is a market access, certification, and serious effort to bring in the right technology for agriculture for these products because of the kind of ecology that these areas have. So, as I mentioned, there is a lot of opportunity for renewable energy, especially which has been demonstrated with hydropower developmental work in Arunachal and Sikkim, as well as solar and biomass for rural electrification in certain states. But the opportunities are glaringly available but not being tapped at the moment. For example, the decentralized grids, micro hydro projects, and energy access to all. Some conscious effort has been made by various organizations, including some UN funding and some European Union interventions for sustainable tourism and promoting circular economy. But I think there is a lot more that needs to be done. For example, in the sustainable tourism, a location like Kaziranga, Zero Valley, and Mylong has been done with a model of homestays, eco lodges, cultural experiences, etc. But the issues is rampant because of the waste, over tourism, and infrastructure gaps. which needs to be fulfilled through a proper planning and orientation towards understanding tourism carrying capacity, as well as the new models of ecotourism and responsible travel by the travelers, which effectively leads you to what is called sustainable production and sustainable consumption. While promoting circular economy has been at the heart of the efforts towards the sustainability in Northeast, the focus has been only towards handloom, natural fibers, and craft traditions, where sustainable design plus modern markets are being addressed to how to address those, also by empowering artisans and women entrepreneurs. But I think until and unless people really understand the essence of circular economy at the grassroots level as to why we are doing what we are doing, we won't get the necessary results, because the traditional tribes not understand why these things are being imposed on them, and they just get back to their usual way of working after that incentive which we they had to bring in circular economy is taken away. And most of it is basically in the form of some training programs or in terms of some interventions which are for a short duration, and there is not a long term plan that is made for actually implementing it at the grassroots level. To elaborate the point of how sustainable development has really been successfully implemented, I would like to share a case study of Kaziranga and its sustainable development effort. Kaziranga National Park in Assam is a globally recognized conservation success story, particularly for its efforts in protecting the one horned rhinoceros. However, the park's sustainable development involves balancing conservation needs with the livelihoods and well being of the surrounding communities. Some of the key aspects of sustainable development in Kaziranga revolves around its effort at the Kaziranga National Park, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a vital stronghold for the conservation of Indian one horned rhinoceros. It protects a significant population of rhinos, accounting for about 70% of the global population. Kaziranga is also home to diverse array of wildlife, including Bengal tiger, Asiatic elephant, wild water buffalo, and eastern swamp deer, often referred as the Big Five. Effective patrolling, anti poaching units, community engagement have played a crucial role in rhino population recovery and overall conservation success of the park. The community involvement has its own benefits, which cannot be emphasized more by really looking at the Kaziranga tourism model, which emphasizes sustainability, incorporating ecotourism initiatives and community based tourism. Local people are employed in hospitality, guiding, and in the handicraft production, providing alternative livelihoods linked to the park's natural resources. The Kaziranga Staff Welfare Society runs eco shops that support tribal communities by selling eco friendly goods, further strengthening the relationship between local livelihoods and sustainable practices. NGOs and community based organizations have played an important role in fostering awareness about environment protection and conservation and in initiating field projects. However, the challenges and threats still remain. Despite its success, Kaziranga faces challenges like rhino poaching, habitat degradation due to invasive species and river erosion, and increasing human wildlife conflicts. The proximity of human settlement to the park boundaries sometimes leads to issues like illegal fishing, firewood collection, and overgrazing by livestock. However, the most important threat is in the climate change. Climate change in the form of increasingly intense and frequent monsoon floods poses a threat to the park's fragile ecosystem and wildlife. The other threat is the unplanned tourism and increasing traffic on the nearby highway, which creates pressures on the park's ecological integrity. So, moving forward to address the human wildlife conflict through measures like creating high grounds within the park for animal refuge during floods and ensuring compensation for crop damage are crucial for achieving long-term sustainability. Fostering stronger relationship between the park management and local communities, including local youth involvement in guiding and conservation efforts, can contribute to sustainable development. Continued focus on sustainable tourism practices, including regulated tourism development and responsible visitor management, is necessary to minimize the impact of tourism on the park. Addressing climate change impacts and managing threats from human activities outside the park through collaborative efforts is vital to ensuring long term conservation of Kaziranga and the biodiversity and well-being of the communities that it supports. Kaziranga National Park's journey towards sustainable development requires ongoing effort to balance conservation goals with the needs of the communities, demonstrating that nature and human efforts can coexist and thrive together. So, this is a good case study to really take as a role model. However, we have to learn about the kind of problems that it has posed, especially in the human and wildlife conflict, and also how to mitigate the climate risk. So, one of the things that we need to really look at after examining the case study of Kaziranga is to really look at the indigenous knowledge and the climate resilience related inputs. We need to provide for vulnerabilities like floods, landslide, changing weather, community adaptation using the traditional knowledge, and also integrating wisdom into policy interventions. The challenges which are posed are because of fragile terrain, poor connectivity, limited job opportunities, and consequently the youth migration and environmental degradation from unplanned growth. So, to cover these, we need to really look at real solutions, not just superficial or siloed solutions. Currently, we are working in silos. We need to plan. We need to make sure that we integrate all our efforts to mitigate all the kind of challenges that can be posed and take proactive action. However, there are a lot of opportunities for action. Setting up green innovation hubs and sustainability focused startups, skilling youth on ecotourism and green jobs, collaboration between government, academia, and NGOs, and also digital tools for education and empowerment. This cannot be really met until and unless we really bring together all stakeholders, the central and the state governments, from the national as well as the state level coordination, that is the Northeast Council and the donor ministries with the central government and the state government efforts, tribal councils and local bodies for the tribal communities. We have the highest number of tribal communities in the Northeast. The NGOs like WWF, NEDA, Aryank, and many others are working tirelessly to work towards bringing all multiple stakeholders together. There are institutes like IIT Guwahati, NITs, and central universities like CIT Kokrajhar that has been working, and I've had the opportunity to work very closely with the CIT Kokrajhar, which is in the Bodoland. So bringing these multiple stakeholders together can only be possible through multi stakeholder engagement, where views of all are being not only considered but also keep sustainability at the heart of any intervention, and proper allocation to resources and funds for making it happen. In my limited capacity and working closely with one of the universities, as I mentioned, in the Budoland, which is Central Institute of Technology, Kokrajhar, I've been trying to really bring in the concept of circular model for sustainable living in the focus sectors of tourism, food, and fashion through an ideathon that I have conceptualized, and hopefully to really bring together a lot of stakeholders together to really look at the circular economy model and its benefit to the Northeast. Why circular economy? It's a shift from a linear take, make, dispose manner to a circular model of reduce, reuse, and regenerate. It maximizes resource efficiency and reduces environmental impact, supports sustainable growth and inclusive economies. The current model has key challenges which are overproduction and overconsumption, waste generation and pollution, and resource depletion and economic degradation, lack of accountability in the product life cycles are all basically blurred by using the circular model. The cross-cutting benefits to circular models includes reduced emissions and pollution, resource conservation, economic resilience, and green jobs, and empowered communities and artisans. As per my personal assessment of Northeast through my limited interaction for the last 2 years with Bodoland, I believe that circular models for sustainable living in Northeast can be hugely impacted or can really provide huge benefits in the focus sectors of tourism, food, and fashion. If we look at the sector focus of tourism, there is a high carbon footprint from the transport and overuse of natural resources, whereas the single use plastic and waste generation is rampant. The circular solutions, if deployed, can provide eco-friendly transport and accommodation, reusable amenities and packaging, as well as local sourcing and community-led tourism can provide circular solutions. If you look at the food problems, one third of the food is wasted globally. High emissions from intensive agriculture is there currently in the regular way of agriculture. And we also have a lot of plastic packaging and unsustainable diets. So the circular solutions in this respect could be for composting and food upcycling, which includes packaged sustainable food which are grown locally and can be made available across the world. Regenerative agriculture, local and seasonal food systems. Same way, if you look at the fashion related problems, in the fast fashion, there is a lot of fast fashion and textile waste that is generated in the fashion industry, almost 40% of so it's one of the second largest carbon emission and greenhouse gas emissions. So the amount of textile waste which is generated actually is humongous. And soon, if we don't really take cognizance of the fact, textile waste is going to be dumped in Northeast. And we need to be wary of the fact that we have, at least in the handloom and in the handicraft sector, there is a lot of waste which is currently not being used and dumped. Water pollution from dyeing, use of synthetic non-biodegradable material is there in the fashion industry. And the circular solution provide an alternative by reuse, repair, and rental models, natural biodegradable textiles, and closed loop production systems. So let us innovate for circular regenerative future. Bring your ideas to reimagine sustainable tourism, food, and fashion. I, on my part, am driving a Sustainable Future Ideathon with CIT Kokrajhar. I've shared the flyer for the same. The date has been extended from July 30th to August 15th for registrations and is open to everybody of any age above 18. Anybody who has a thought to contribute is more than welcome to participate free of cost. And I urge all educators in the group to really host this ideathon at their premises, and whatever information that we have, I have been personally working on it for last 2 years, can be really shared to the institute and provided to them. This is going to spur a lot of innovation amongst the youth, the women, the students, the entrepreneurs, and the small and medium enterprises. And I want, at least it's my heartfelt desire, that this becomes a movement to really save our own future, our sustainable future. I just like to end with one more slide while you really go through this flyer related to the Sustainable Future Ideathon. So, while sharing the details about the Sustainable Future Ideathon Northeast, which we are currently hosting on SmartEdge.club, which is an initiative with the Central Institute of Technology, Kokrajhar, and the STI Hub project. As a knowledge partner to this STI Hub, which is an innovation hub supported by the Ministry of Science and Technology, we are working on this initiative to bring about at least 100 innovators and creators together to ideate and solve some of the local problems, not just for Kokrajhar, but also for the entire Northeast region. Since it is completely online, I urge all my friends here to have encourage their students, their friends, their families to participate free of cost to this ideathon and crowdsource solutions for the sustainable future of Northeast. To conclude, the sustainable Northeast means preserving ecosystems and enabling inclusive development, empowering local communities as stewards of change. Sustainable tech is going to be a key player in innovating for sustainable future of Northeast. And in my opinion, responsible production and consumption is a key to the success. Signing off, thank you very much for the patient listening, and I'm looking forward to participation and engagement from being driven and providing me for the support to this particular initiative for which I worked for last 2 years to bring about a deep rooted understanding of the area, and thanks to Dr. Sharma to really give me an opportunity to present this to this August gathering. Thank you once again. Signing off.